Hello there. We're going to try this again. All right. This is your friend Paige Edmondson, and we're going live with Tammy. And I am trying to message her on here. Um, Let me tell her on my Facebook. Um, just started again. Um, Okay, so hopefully it's going to work. Thanks for joining us, whoever's going to join on this live broadcast. And let me bring Tammy on. Here we go. It's a work. And it takes a minute to get. Yay, it's working. How,
Yay!
how are you?
Good.
Awesome. Well, to everybody who's going to be watching this live or watching the replay, this is my friend Tammy. And hold on, I have like this selfie ring light that was on my phone, and then when I connected it, it disconnected the live video. So this is it right here. If you don't have one of these, everybody needs to have one of those because see, it totally brightens up your face.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it takes
Where
out all the shadows or whatever. But
where'd you get
I'm gonna see Amazon.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
they're like $9 or something like that, but and usually it works great, but my batteries are kind of dying on it right now, so I don't know if it's going to work so well.
Yeah.
But anyway, so for those just joining, this is my friend Tammy or McClelland Bannister. Tammy, welcome to Moms of Teens and Tweens.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, about your raising children. How old are they now? You've made it through. Go ahead. You
Woo!
go. Yeah.
Okay, so as Paige said, I am Tammy. I have four children, two boys, two girls. And then I recently married again. It'll be 2 years this September. He had four children, so now there's eight children together.
Oh my
The
goodness.
Yeah, the oldest is 26 and the youngest will turn 18 in 2 weeks. So they're all older, but there are five of them still living at home with us right now. So there's seven people in this house.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, how many are still at home?
Yeah, five of them are here. Three of those are mine. Two of those are his. A couple of them are going to college. A couple of them are just working, trying to figure out their place in life, kind of thing. But they all live here locally in the area. So once a month we do family dinner. And by the time you throw in all the respective boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, whatever, it's like 16 people around my dinner table. And I love it. I
Oh,
really love it.
that's awesome, Tammy. I love that. I love these big families. Now, do you ever go anywhere what do you drive? Like, does everybody ever fit in the vehicle all at once or
No,
what?
no, 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 no. Yeah, we usually take like two or three vehicles. I still have a minivan, which I'm getting ready to get rid of because it will be the last minivan I will ever own. But
Come on now.
I know. I'm like,
I'm
Mama's
still
about to get
there.
the car that she's always wanted. That's what Mama's gonna do.
There you go. That's
But
right.
yeah, no, we just like caravan places or we meet up
Yeah.
places and we just kind of all drive separate cars or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you need my big NV passenger van so that you can fit 12 people in it. You all could go together. It
Yeah.
could just be one big happy family.
We
So,
were kind of laughing this past Christmas. We always go over and spend part of Christmas at Disney, and we were laughing because we were behind like a tour bus. And my oldest son says to me, "Just think, Mom, one day you guys are going to have to rent one of those to get us all somewhere." And I was like, "No, no, there's no way." And then we started adding it up. Like by the time everybody's married, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, we will."
yeah. Yes, you're going to totally need a tour bus. Thank you. Welcome to everybody who's joining us live. I just want to welcome everybody. Thank y'all for watching in. Tammy, I am so excited to learn all that I have to learn from you. Even if you're going to need a tour bus one day, maybe you're going to need to go on tour and give other people these types of parenting advice. So, all right. So my first question, I sent you a list of questions so that
Yeah.
you could go over them and be a little bit prepared. You don't have to be totally prepared by any means. But my first question is, what is your favorite memory of parenting teenagers?
Um, Honestly, and I don't know that there's like one that totally stands out. I think it's a lot of small memories that just added up. But the common theme in all of them is the time that we spent together. It was
Uh-huh.
when we really consciously made those efforts as a family to pull away, to disconnect, to do a cabin in the woods, to, whatever
Yeah.
that looked like, and really being intentional about the time that we spent. And
Right.
those are really some of my favorite memories. There was a lot of great conversations, a lot of just life discussions that happened
Yeah.
because we took the time that never would have happened if we weren't
Right.
intentional about the time part. So,
Now, would you like every summer schedule a vacation or winter or things like that? Like, how did you plan it, or were they more spontaneous?
we definitely had a yearly family vacation time that we did, but we also were very intentional. And my first husband and I actually both did this. We went out solo with each kid one time a month.
Okay.
Even if it was a run to Home Depot or
Right.
whatever, because it gave you that time in the car. We also had set times once a month where we just pulled away as a family, where we just decided today's family day and we're going to go do X,
Yeah.
Y, Z. Maybe that was
Right.
sitting on the beach, maybe that was whatever, but we just were really intentional about the time aspect.
Okay. And I'm sure that had to make a huge difference on each one of those kids.
Yes.
Now, do all of your kids have different love languages?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are they all
Yeah.
like, so some is like the gifts, and if you don't know about the five love languages, you need to look it up. They have the five love languages for teens, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, they were all kind of spread out. We had one in every group, I think. And then of course,
right,
me and my spouse were totally different. So you just kind of
right,
learn those things as you go on. But those are the things that
right.
really help you strengthen your parenting relationship and your bond with your kids, is knowing those things.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. For those of you who are watching live, if you've got questions for Tammy as we go throughout this interview, be sure to leave them there too, because I have a set of questions, but I don't have to stick to those either. So if you've got some, be sure to ask them. But all right. So my next one is, what's one of the best or most worthwhile investments that you ever made in your teens? What would you say?
Who I think I would really still come back, and this is probably going to sound hokey, but I think I would still really come back to the time thing. I
Uh-huh.
think one of the things that we learned early on is, if you want to have a close relationship with your teenager and you want them to talk to you, you have to create an environment for that to happen. End of
Yeah.
story. Like, you just do. If you don't
Yeah.
create the environment, you can't gripe about it not happening. You just can't.
This is right.
So I
Yeah.
think that for me, and sometimes, and I looked at that as an investment, not only because do I have to make time in my schedule, but sometimes that meant we did spend money. Sometimes it meant that we
Yeah.
set aside money to make those intentional times. I mean, vacation was non-negotiable in our household. No matter how bad
Uh-huh.
our finances were, it was always non-negotiable. It was a
Right.
family, just something that our family was characterized by. We did this.
Right.
Even if it was a staycation, we did it.
You did it. Yeah, my in-laws, my sister-in-law has 11 kids, and they just did a staycation because they're camping. They were going to go camping in Helen, and it got flooded. And
Yeah.
so they came up with all these creative ideas to do during the staycation. And I'm like, she's so good about creating memories with the kids like that. I want to do more of
Yeah.
that with my own. What was one of
Yeah.
your favorite vacations that you took with your kids?
Um, and I was just going to actually say that if you talk to my kids now, some of their favorite memories are ones where we ended up staying home or everything fell apart in the end and we couldn't do what we originally planned. Like, those are some of their favorite memories, and they talk
Yeah.
about them all the time. And it's funny because, we spend all this money and we plan these great things, and that's wonderful. But sometimes their best
Uh-huh.
memories are when we were just all home around the dinner table, or it was movie marathon night, or it
Right.
was whatever. I mean, those are the ones they talk about all the
Right.
time.
All all the time. Okay, that's good to know. We have like a movie theater downstairs, so I need to probably do a movie marathon night. Usually though, by the time I'm like ready to watch a movie, I'm passing out.
Hear ya, hear ya, hear ya.
Too tired, too tired. So, okay, my next question is, what failure or apparent failure in your parenting taught you the most? And if you could, you would use it to teach others. Do you have like a
Um, it,
favorite? Like,
it was funny because I was like reading through these questions. I was like, ooh, that's a hard one. And I don't know that I can, again, point to any one specific thing. I can point to
that's
a lot
okay.
of little things along the way. And what I can tell you is this: they were always characterized by when I got into the mode where I wanted what I wanted and I wanted to have control, and I really moved into that authoritative stance more than a relationship stance, that was a failure every time. Every time. And in the end, it broke relationship a little bit with my child and I, where we had to now have restoration. I mean, just different things. And I really, those were the times I learned so much more from myself and what to do differently, is when I realized that whenever you move into that authoritative mode, are we in authority? Absolutely.
Right.
But that's not how God calls us to be in relationship. It's not how God is with us, even though he has rules and boundaries and regulations. He's not authoritative. Like, if you don't do this, the hammer's coming down, you know, kind of thing.
Right.
And every time I would move that direction in our relationship, the relationship would suffer, they would suffer, I would suffer. But when I would move more toward that relationship part, it's still being a parent, but relationship part, and going, I get it. I know you don't like what I'm telling you to do, but I need you to do this. And here's the reason why. And you cannot like it, and that's fine, but you still need to do it.
Did you change kind of with each child, like with your first kid, where you're like, I'm going to be the authority, this is how we're going to do things, and then by the baby you're like, yeah, that goes out the window? Like, I mean, where
you ask my kids, they will tell you that the baby gets everything, which I totally do not believe, but whatever.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, Paige, I remember this very, very defining moment for me. My firstborn, was like the Strong-Willed Child book by James Dobson. He was that times 10. Like, he blew that book out of the water. We used to laugh, and I used to say all the time that I was going to kill him before he turned six. I would kill him before then. You know, and then we hit this lull where everything was okay, and then hormones happened. And I vividly remember this moment. I don't know what had gone on that day. It probably was just a day, just continually all day long. And I vividly remember this moment of sitting on the steps of my back deck, bawling, saying to God, I'm not going to survive this. I cannot. And I think he was 10, Paige. Like, I mean, he was like 10 or 11. Like, he was right on the cusp of it. And all I could think is, 7 more years? There's no way. It's not going to happen. And I remember sitting out there bawling, and I very clearly heard God say to me, Tammy, you can do this the easy way, or you can do it the hard way. It's up to you. And I was like, I want to do it the easy way. Show me what the easy way looks like. And I feel like he spent those next years of all of the teenagers coming through the house continually showing me the easy way, not just in a broad spectrum, but even the easy way with this child, the easy way with this child, the easy. And so much of it was about giving up control.
Is it like, so what did that look like in a physical way? Like, with that strong-willed child, what did that look like?
So in a physical way, a lot of things, and I truly believe this about parenting teens. Parenting teens is all about becoming more of a guide than a parent. In the beginning, it's going to look like 80% parenting, 20% guide. But the goal is that by the time you hit 18, you should be at 100% guide and 0% parenting. Because if you're not, they're not going to make it out there. They're just, they can't come to you at 25 and still constantly be going, tell me what to do, tell me what to do, tell me. That's not the kind of child I want to raise. So a lot of those things really came with, honestly, Paige, a lot of personal growth in myself. A lot of personal growth in myself, of taking the time to make the connection, taking the time to look below the surface, taking the time to go, okay, I'm going to go to the bookstore and see if I can find a book on this, or, you know, just different. God did it in different ways, but I always came back to God and said, okay, lead me to the next thing, lead me to the next thing, lead me to the next thing.
Right. I love that. I love just kind of being a guide when they get to be in that teenager age, just like, okay, I'm going to be your guide and guide you through this, because I can't, I think they respect that so much more anyway.
I agree. And I will tell you now that at 23, 22, 21, I get phone calls, and they come in the house all the time and go, can I talk to you about this? And they'll tell me about something going on at work or something. And they just need to talk it out. But had I not formed that kind of facet of our relationship,
Right. I think that's so key. That's what I'm looking forward to. Like I want them to want to come home and want to come and still have conversations with me and
Yes.
not be just annoyed or I mean I can only imagine what all they're going to say about me by the time they get to be teenagers. So, okay, so my next question is what is a tradition that you had with your kids and your teens? I know you mentioned like going on vacations. What are
Yeah.
other traditions you had?
We had a couple of traditions. We had 5 nights out of 7, we all sat around the dinner table. That was non-negotiable.
Yeah. Did they play sports too? Because that's what I find is a struggle.
They did
Okay.
play sports. We had a couple of boundaries with sports. You could only be involved in one sport throughout the year.
Okay.
And part of that, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, but part of that for us was that being intentional about time that we were together.
Uh-huh.
So if we're letting you be involved in 5 sports throughout the year, that time together becomes very rare. So
right.
if it was a sports night and it was a practice night, then maybe dinner happened after practice. I mean, we had to get creative. Trust me, we had to get creative with it, but we were so firm on believing that we got creative.
Yeah.
Another kind of rule that we had or thing that we did was if somebody in the family is involved in something, we're all there, period. And trust me, there were birthday parties that my kids had to give up that I'm like, I'm sorry, but your sister has a recital and you're going to go watch your sister play.
Right. I think that you know what, we started establishing that with our big kids because the little girls are started taking dance and I'm like, listen, those little girls have been shuffled to all of your baseball, basketball, gymnastics, all that stuff. Yeah. I don't care. You got to show up for them. We're a family unit. We're a team. Everybody's got to be showing up. So I think that's so good. But I do find it hard, like with sports, my older ones, they play sports so late at night time. So I feel like I'm having 2 dinners all the time. Like we have one at about 5 o'clock and then one at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. And so for you, it may look like maybe that's one of the 7 nights that you guys don't do dinner together. But, we said 5 out of 7. It doesn't have to be 5 out of 7 for you. Right. But the point was that there were certain nights that were non-negotiable, that we were all going to sit around the table and we were going to eat dinner together.
Right. I think that's so good. Okay. Thanks for that. Thanks for that challenge. Okay. So my next question is, how did you handle sibling relationships? And are your kids close with each other today?
So we homeschooled. So that obviously put them in each other's faces all the time. But one of the other big things we did, and we didn't just do this in their teen years, but we ended up having to do it a lot more in their teen years. We kind of had a rule that if you're not treating your siblings correctly, or if you're treating your friends better than you treat your siblings, then you're going to lose time with your friends, and so you can treat your siblings better than you treat your siblings. And so we did a lot of that.
I've been saying that same thing lately. I'm like, listen, you're going to honor your sister more than you're going to honor your friends, because if you don't teach your friends to honor, like if you don't teach your friends to even honor your siblings, so
and the part of that is to follow through. So we would do you're not going to be spending time with your friends for a couple weeks. I want you to stay home and work on the relationship with your sibling. And when I see that, and we also never did grounding or restriction. What we called it was loss of freedom. And we
loss of freedom. Okay.
We had a phrase all the time that we said around here: with responsibility comes freedom. When you're not being responsible, you lose the freedom. When you show me you can be responsible with stuff again, then you get the freedom back. So I
love that.
But the way it worked in the sibling relationships is, when I can see that you are treating your siblings better and you're being responsible, then you will get your freedom back of hanging out with your friends, because that put the ball in their court. It wasn't 2 weeks out, now I get to go do whatever. It put the ball in their court of how I'm going to do this or not do this.
Right. Oh, I love that. I'm totally stealing that one. I need to type that in a note. Like, you're going to lose your freedom. It's your choice. It's your choice. Yeah. Valerie has a question. She says, my kids are not connecting at all. My daughter is sad and misses her brother. He's at the tween age and doesn't want anything to do with his 9-year-old sister. So you had boys and girls. What would you say to Valerie?
So Valerie, I mean, honestly, what I'm going to tell you is, it is up to you as a parent to create an environment for that to take place. You can't make it happen. You can't make it, you know, like you can't force it. You can't force him to do anything, but you can create an environment. So maybe that looks like, hey, your sister's really been struggling trying to figure this thing out. Do you think you can go help her and see if you can help her figure out how to do this together? Or sometimes it would be, you know, one of my boys would be like, hey, I'm going to go out in the front yard and hit some balls. And I'd be like, you know what? I think Lauren would love to do that with you. How about you take Lauren with you and she could shag balls for you or whatever. I mean, I just tried to create those moments where it gave him an opportunity to do it. Right. And then I stayed inside and I prayed like crazy that God would help him connect.
Yeah, that they would connect. You know what? Another thing, my kids I couldn't understand what they were saying, but yesterday they're like, I want to watch Sis versus Bro. And I'm like, what are you saying? Well, there's a YouTube channel called Sis versus Bro. Okay. And so that might be, you know, our younger ones now are so into YouTube. Yeah. Maybe that's doing something to create some challenges of Sis versus Bro. And
I will say that I think the whole like family time thing and being intentional about us all being together helped that along because they were with their siblings. But I will tell you now that as adults, like Brett will take Lauren, you know, out kayaking all day long. You know, he'll go, hey, do you want to go kayaking on Saturday? And he's 23 and she's 18. And really? You know, they do stuff together all the time. I have one son that lives out of state, and when he comes in state, he's always like, hey, let's go see a movie together. Like he'll grab one of his sisters. And so it pays off. It pays off. They're not going to like it, and they're going to buck you on it, and they're going to whatever. And what you have to keep in mind is looking down the road for what you're shooting for.
Right. I think just kind of keeping that keeping that long-term vision that they're not going to be 9 and 12 forever. Right. Eventually they will grow up. Okay. What do you want? I got one over here that's wanting like spelling words over here. All of a sudden my kids are all up. Okay. So what advice would you give a parent struggling to connect with their teen? So if you're like having a hard time finding something to connect on, what advice would you give?
So I would say two things. The first thing is you need to get outside of yourself. It needs to not be about you and what you're feeling and what you want and what your agenda is. That you need to just get rid of that. The second thing
drop that mic right there.
Absolutely. The second thing that I can tell you is, and I don't have a picture to show you, but I challenge each of you to go Google this and just look up images of icebergs online. And this was something that God gave me early on. When you look at an iceberg, you see only 20%, just the top that's above the water. Underneath is this massive part of the iceberg that holds everything up that you see on the surface. Your goal in connecting with your teen is, I don't care about what I see up here. I want to look at what's underneath. And one of the ways that happens, or one of the ways that we kind of did that, is I used to say, and I'd still say this now in our house, whenever you're in a situation where your emotional response is not matching the situation that's happening, when it's way over, then that's your clue. There is something bigger going on here. Yeah. I would tune into that as a parent and I'd be like, wow, I can see you're like really, really frustrated, but it's kind of not matching the fact that you can't get the oil filter off the car. So what's really going on here? And kind of just asking questions and leading, and just because not only do I want to know, but what am I teaching them? What I'm teaching them is, as you become an adult, you've got to look inward when you know that things are crazy. I mean, I do the same thing. When I find myself in a situation where my emotional response is not matching where I'm at, I have to step back and go, wait a second, what's happening?
Right. What's going on? Yeah.
Right. So those are some ways. And again, it comes back to that time thing. It comes back to, I intentionally made it a point every week to take one kid out by themselves with just me for an hour, even if it was a trip to a grocery store.
Yeah, I think that is so good. I can't wait to like even rewatch this, because I'm going to be thinking about it even more of like, when they're, and I tell my kids too, like if you're out of control, they're in control. So when their sister or their, is making them mad, I'm like, if you're losing it,
Right.
you're out of control, and
Yeah.
therefore your sibling is in control. So you've got
Yeah.
to, and you're right, I'm thinking, looking at the bigger picture, what else is frustrating them so bad for them to respond
Yeah.
over, slime pouring on the floor? Like,
Right.
it's
I
not
mean,
that.
there were several instances that they would get into stuff, and lo and behold, when we got down to the bottom of it, it was that so and so had done this 2 days ago, and it really hurt my feelings. And when they could
Uh-huh.
say that, then that all of a sudden there's something was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that I did that, and I'm sorry. So it was never
Right.
about the you took my cup or she's in my room. It was
Yeah.
about 2 days ago you saying something that really hurt them that they've not gotten past.
Yeah. Right. Oh, that's so good. I'm like, that's so good. Like, you're right. And I just being aware of that, because I know oftentimes I'll respond to them going nuts about something instead of
Right.
saying, okay, wait a second, what happened here? Why are you really upset? So,
Yeah.
okay, so my next question is, now that you've made it through the teen years, what do you love about parenting adults? Or what do you not love about parenting adults? I mean, um,
Um, I'm still learning because this is a whole different ball game, and I will tell you that I did this all throughout, even when I had teenagers. It's one of the biggest things that I find people who are in the same season as me or a little bit further down the road, and I'm like, okay, tell me how to do this.
yeah,
I
like,
will
what do I
tell
do?
you, and
How do,
I've
how,
yeah, I've made this statement a lot to people in the past year or so, where I'm like, they say like parenting teens is the hardest or this is the hardest. I'm like, I think they
uh-huh.
lied. I think this is the hardest. This whole
See,
transition, I'm like, this is
my,
crazy.
well, I mean, you know what I like? I'm close with my mom, and I always tell, I watch her and how she parents. There's four of us, and we all have different personalities and are going through different stuff. And so I'm like, wow. And my mom always tells me, you are in the best season of your life. Like, these are the
Yes.
best years. You know where your kids are. They are under your roof. Like,
Yeah.
they listen to you, but as they become adults, it's so much harder because they have their own opinions
Yeah.
and stuff.
And,
So,
and I will say, I think what I love about this season, and this is where I can say, this is where this is where the whipped cream goes on the dessert, people. I mean, honestly, this is the sweet part. This is the part where you sit back and you're able to see for the first time that all of this pain and anguish and stuff you poured into your kids and all the
mhm,
intentionality and all the late nights and all the whatever is paying
right,
off. And you're
right,
seeing it for the first time in how they're adulting and how they're navigating life. And I'll be honest, not in a prideful way, but there have been
right.
moments that I've been moved to tears, and there's this part of me that goes, I did good. I did good. And
Yeah.
I mean, when you go through this whole season, you think that's never going to come. And then
Yes.
it does.
It comes like we're gonna make it. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Oh, I'm so glad you shared. Okay. I don't want to keep everybody too long, but I do have a few more questions. So what book or books would you give a mom of teens as a gift, and why? Or what are one of the three books that have greatly influenced your life?
There's a couple books I can say. Boundaries with
Okay.
Teens, huge.
All right.
That really, especially if you have a strong-willed child, get that book.
Okay.
Um, Wild at Heart was a really great book that helped me
Um,
understand how God wired boys and men, and that was
yes.
huge for me in their teen years.
It's John
Um,
Eldridge, Wild at Heart. That
Correct.
was okay.
The Power of a Praying Parent by Stormy O. Martin, another one. Nothing will get you further in parenting your teens than being on your knees. I kid you not. And what I would do with the book is I would know what's going on in my kids' lives. Okay, this is what they're
Uh-huh.
struggling with right now, or here's where they are. And I may pray prayers that had to do with just that for weeks until I felt like they moved to a different phase. And then I would find
Uh-huh.
prayers for that. So
Okay.
I would say
Yeah,
those.
if you're not familiar with the Power Praying Wife, Woman, Parent series, I think everybody I need to get a new copy of that. I think they even make a book with all three, like Power Praying Parent, Wife,
Oh,
and
cool.
Woman all together.
Yeah,
So
that'd be good.
I need to get a new copy of it. So people keep like messaging me stuff too. So, okay, the Power Praying Parent. Is there any other ones that you can think of?
Um, I definitely, when you start hitting further into teen years, every young woman's battle, every young man's battle, talking about sexuality, pornography, all of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Those were really good ones when you start hitting that phase.
Okay. Every young man's battle and every is it they don't they have one every young woman's battle too?
Yes, correct. Yeah, they have one of each.
Okay. I'm
And
gonna
those,
put these
and
in
I'm
the
going to be honest, when it came to books like that, those were books that me and my child read simultaneously, and we would talk about every chapter. Because
oh,
again, it provided discussion points, it provided opportunities for that conversation to happen. And so we would do it that way.
okay. What age? Like right when they were 12 or 13, or did you wait till they were a little bit older for those?
So I think that you kind of, I don't believe that there's ages that you do things. I believe it has to do with environment. My kids were homeschooled, so they probably got into the sexuality part a little bit later than probably kids who were in school, maybe. So I really kind of waited until it
Right.
looked like I saw them developing crushes on girls or talking about, oh, I saw so and so kiss somebody or whatever. And then we kind of
Right.
introduced part of it.
Okay, then you were not so yeah, that's kind of I think we're like getting right there, 13, 14 year
Yeah.
old kind of, and they're seeing they're at, even at youth group and stuff like that, and their
Yeah.
youth group friends are talking about a crush about on this one and a crush on that one. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I may have I need to go see if I have those on the shelf. Okay, so what bad parenting recommendations do you hear or see in your peers? Or
Um,
have you like seen maybe
ooh,
social media, whatever? Yeah, tell us
yeah.
some bad stuff that you're like, yeah, don't do that.
Honestly, the whole I'm my kid's friend is going to mess them up way worse than anything you're ever going to do. You're not your kid's friend. God did not give you that child and say, hey, be their friend. It's not what he said.
Yeah,
He said,
right.
I gave you this child to steward and raise according to the way I want you to raise them. And you can't do that being their friend. You just
Yeah.
can't. And one of the
Now,
things, go ahead.
keep going. No, I was gonna say, like, do you feel like you're more friends with your kids now that they're adults?
But that friendship came out of the relationship that I made with them, not just I'm
Okay.
going to be your friend. There,
Right.
in other words, there were times, especially in their teen years, that I'd be like, I'm not your friend. Don't talk to me that way. I'm not your friend. Like, we
It's
can have a
good.
conversation about this, but you're going to be respectful,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And I would
That's
call
good.
them on that, a lot. And I'm just going to tell you right now, here's something you need to get used to. When you are parents of teenagers, you're going to make them mad. If you're not making them mad, then you're not doing it right. I'm just going to be honest. If you
That's
are not
good.
making them mad, then I'm going to tell you you're being way too much their friend and not enough their parent. And there were so many times I said, you can be mad if you want. That's fine. But this is the
Yeah.
way it's going to be. And I would
Right.
draw that line and walk away.
Walk away. That's so good. Well, that leads me to like the next question though that I have, Tammy, is when you felt overwhelmed and you wanted to throw in the towel with parenting your teens, what did you do? And like, what questions would you ask yourself? Because, when they're so mad, it makes you
Yeah,
feel bad as a parent.
sure.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so in those moments, what would you do?
Um, I'm going to tell you, it's community. It's exactly what you're doing right here in this group. You
Hmm.
have to surround yourself by people who are in the same stage as you, who are a few years down the road from you, and go, okay, I'm dying and I don't know what to do. And even if all they can say is, you know what, I've not been there, but I'll pray for you. Part of our story is, when my kids were 14, 13, 12, and 10, their dad died.
Hmm.
And I had this moment of, I did not know how to parent grieving children. It is totally different.
Yeah.
And I was dealing with my own grief and I didn't know what to do. And I had a friend who sent me a link out of the blue and said, hey, this might be a good place for you. And it was a family and children grief center. And I looked at
Really?
my kids and I said, this is non-negotiable. We're all doing this for a year. At the end, I mean, we
Wow.
were in counseling, like we were doing other stuff, but I mean, it was finding a community that was in a
Right.
totally different realm that I had never been in. At the end of the year, like it was the single most thing that I can point to, along with counseling, that I think helped my kids navigate grief in a healthier
Right.
way and not spiral out of control.
Can you share where it was that you went or what that group was? Because I mean, I'm sure there's going to be others, whether they're in it now, they're going to be in it, whenever they decided what was that group. And people are from all over the United States in this group, but share the one. You guys are in Tampa, so share.
Yeah, so in Tampa, there's a place. It's actually a ministry branch off from Van Dyke United Methodist, but it's called Suncoast Kids Place is what it's called. And
Wait, hold on, Tammy. Say that again. There was like a little breakup. It was Suncoast Kid. What is it?
Suncoast Kids Place.
Suncoast Kids Place. Okay.
Yeah, it was hugely instrumental. And I will tell you that at the end of that year, my kids wanted to go back. My kids did it all the way until they were 18 for no other reason.
Wow.
Because they were surrounded by other kids who knew exactly what they felt like. And it was okay for them to talk about their dad there. And it was okay for, whatever. And right. I will tell you too, and we'll get to this part in a minute. If you want to message me or, send me a friend request or whatever, I have a lot of people I encounter in grief that live in different parts of the country. And I can usually go to the directors of Suncoast Kids Place and go, hey, tell me a good children and family grief center in this area. What places do you know? Because they're pretty well connected.
Okay. That's so good. Yeah, that's what I was going to, if they want to connect with you, how is the best way to connect with you? Should send you a message on Facebook or email or what?
And you can friend me on Facebook, send me a message. That's probably the easiest way for a lot of people, I think, and I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, I would say being in community is going to be the thing that's going to help you through those hard spots. You got to have those people in your corner going, I know this is hard, but you can do this. Stick to your guns. Do what you need to do. I'm going to be praying for you. I'm going to be praying for your kid, and we're going to get through this. You got to have that.
Yeah, it's true. And that's part of like the purpose of this group is like, listen, we're in this together, and I'm going to pull in these moms that have made it through and to encourage us. So Tammy, I'm so glad that you shared now, and I would love for you to bless us out of here.
Yes.
And
I would love
and pray us out of here. Before you do that really quick, my friend Stephanie says Suncoast is where I refer families all the time. The grief camp is amazing. And for those watching, whether you're watching now or later, if you have more questions, be sure to type them out here, because myself or Tammy will go back and reply to those questions whenever you have them.
Absolutely.
So we'll leave this up.
I want to pray a prayer blessing over you guys, and just really just want to bring God's favor and everything down on you. The fact that you've taken time to watch the video, joined in, is huge. It is. Step, so
it is. Yeah. Go ahead. You got it, Tammy.
God, I just pray right now, just over all of these women who are watching now, all of the ones who will be watching at any point in the future, Lord. I pray that you just put courage and boldness into their spirit, that you have called them to this and you have totally equipped them to do it. I pray that you give them wisdom, guidance, direction on every step along the road. I pray that you call out to them when you see them veering off the path, that you show them the way to go. I pray that you give them creative ways to love, guide, and instruct each child that is in their home. And I pray that when they are in the deep places and the dark places and the treacherous waters, that you not only will surround them with people who will hold on to their arms, who will keep their head above water, but that you will put inside of them a perseverance and a strength to stay the course, to finish the fight, to run the good race. I pray for all of the children that are associated in these houses, God, that you just pray a hedge of protection over all of them. I pray that you just continue to speak to their hearts every day, that you grow them and nurture them in the wisdom of the Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen, friend. This was so fun. I thank you, Tammy, for sharing. Do you mind if we share this with more people?
No, absolutely. Share away. I will probably share it on my own page going, hey, if you're a mom and this is a great group, join in, like, find a community.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, please, those of you who are watching, feel free to join the group and post your questions anytime that anybody's got a question. I'm like, post it in the group because chances are another one of us is going through the same thing or has the same questions. So,
Absolutely.
all right. Well, thanks, Tammy. This was awesome.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it and learned a lot. So I'll let you
Yeah.
go and bye, ladies. Bye, moms of teens and tweens.
Bye.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.